This is a podcast designed for families to hear all about the mission and vision of learning, which is being carried out at Lake Havasu Unified School District for the academic and social-emotional growth of students in our district. It is also a place to share tips, tools, advice, and reflections on how our schools, families, and our community can help our students learn to make the most of their potential in their K-12 learning experience. We are so excited to be bringing you conversation on a variety of topics from educators, parents, administrators, alumni, and even students across our district. Our goal for you each time is to leave with a little bit more knowledge on how to help your students be successful. So let's dive on in together. Hannah Upton has worked for the Lake Havasu Unified School District for 8 years. She began her career at LHUSD in 2014 as an elementary art teacher, working at several of our elementary schools, including Starline, Nautilus, and Oregonde. She then moved up to Thunderbolt Middle School to teach art to our 7th and 8th grade students. She quickly emerged as a leader within our district, serving as a teacher mentor, articulation lead, department chair, and the Thunderbolt Art Club advisor. This year, she serves as one of her school's positive behavior intervention support leads as well, working to help build teachers' strategic interventions to support positive behaviors across the school campus. She is a dedicated and passionate educator who is immensely creative and committed to her students' success. She prioritizes relationships with her students and truly understands the impact of how arts education can support not only student learning, but their overall success and happiness. Hannah, welcome. We're so glad to have you here today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, of course, and you're the perfect person to talk about our topic today. So, and the whole purpose of Raising Scholars is to be able to share information with our parents about different angles of education. Mm-hmm. So I knew that you were the perfect person to have that conversation about investing in the whole child and how arts education can really impact our kids.
Oh, yeah.
And I've worked with you personally, mm-hmm. right? And even just as a personal colleague, but also as an educator, what I can tell you is that I've personally seen the impact of arts education both on my own students as well as other students, and I know that the parents that are watching will agree that there's so many different ways that we can support our kids through education, and not all of it is always strictly through math and reading and science and things like that. Yeah. All of the different subjects that we teach within the school day impact our kids in so many ways. So I'm excited to get your perspective on that today.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Okay. So we're going to start off talking about you first, because not all of the parents have had an opportunity to meet you like me. So I want them to hear a little bit about your background. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get into education, and specifically arts education?
So my background of education, it's not very vast. Like, it's pretty easy to tell. So I grew up kind of traveling around and moving in and out of schools. Art was always like my anchor point wherever we went. So that was always like my home. I loved everything about it. And then Havasu was also kind of our home at the end of it. So I ended up starting off my educational career at Starline Elementary.
Okay.
And I remember all my teachers there. And then we came back during my junior and senior year. So I was able to start and then end here in Havasu. Okay. Graduated in 2007. And then I went up to NAU, graduated in 2011. And the reason why I chose art was, again, just like it was my home. Like, I just felt comfortable there. And I always wanted to be a home for kids that were like me. Right. And not only that, but just like, it just served such a good role in my life. And I just wanted to be there for kids who were like me, whether it was like a struggling moment in life or just needing an outlet or whatever it was. So that was my passion, and just wanting to make sure that I fulfilled that for anyone else. So, and then came here in the district in 2014, started off at elementary level, was at Starline
with
Nautilus.
Our babies.
Yeah, with our little babies. Starline Nautilus and Oregonde for about 4 years. And then after that, I made the shift to middle school. Oh. And I can tell you,
they're so fun.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love my middle school kids.
Yeah.
Like, people always look at me like, oh my gosh, you're so crazy for teaching middle school. Like, I am crazy because I love them. Like,
you have to have a heart for them, because it takes a deeper level of understanding of developmental needs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is. And they're bridging that gap between adolescence and getting into that adult. I loosely say adult, like adult life.
Yeah, but the young adulthood.
Yeah, and it's just such a great age, and the challenge behind it, and just like, you know, they have their ups and downs, but they're just so great. And the stuff that they produce, oh my gosh.
Well,
it's amazing.
So Well, and working in an elementary school, yes, it's absolutely true that they can produce so many cool things at elementary, but I feel like the kids who start off at elementary and then continue through middle school, you see a whole other side of their personality through their art.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny, too, because the way that when I first came into the district, it was a 12-week program that started out. So it was 12 weeks. That's all you got for art, music, and PE.
Right.
We rotated.
Yeah.
And then we finally were able to get that transition
Thankfully.
into the... I know.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. But, of course, it was right when I left. That's when
I know.
I
I know.
Oh, dang, I should have waited.
I know.
But definitely do not regret my leap forward. But no, so now our kids are able to sample even more and with more time and more resources. And so it makes my experience with them even more exciting because they have all this background knowledge. And so
that's
it's
so
really cool.
Do you feel like as an alumni, I'm an alumni also, but I'm so excited to hear like about the progression of our schools over time and to be a part of it with you. Do you feel like the arts programs that you were able to take in high school kind of are what led you here, or did you take outside programs that were outside of the school environment?
So personally, no, I didn't take anything outside of what was given in high school.
Okay.
But my experience is a little bit unique because my ninth grade year, I was at one high school. 10th grade year, I was another high school. So
you jumped around a little bit.
I did. I jumped around a little bit, but in my final years here, I had Mrs. Hilbert, and she was my amazing art teacher in junior year. And then she was like, Hannah, you need to do dual enrollment. And so they had a really awesome
best advice.
Yeah, like it was so cool. So I had a dual enrollment class for art, and then that just really
propelled you?
Yeah, propelled me into everything else. And so it definitely was an eye-opener of where I could go with a career in it rather than just a hobby in it.
Sure.
And so that was a really cool experience to go through, especially in high school, because you never really think of something that you love to do can be something that you end up doing forever.
Well, and everybody wants to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the education portion of it had Mrs. Hilbert was one of the people who kind of influenced me into becoming an art educator. Okay. And just, I don't know. It was really
thankfully.
Cool. Yeah, thankfully, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Very
cool.
Just
like her ability to just make it look effortless and her ability to just, I don't know, she had a really amazing way of teaching, and I thrived in it, and I was like, I want to do that. Like,
well, you've developed the same gift, I'll have to say.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So let's dive a little bit more into the topic itself.
Yeah.
So as you know, arts education reinforces different skills at each developmental level, right? Because you've been at both elementary and middle school.
Correct.
Can you give us some examples for parents listening of some specific skills that art and music can help reinforce both in the classroom and outside?
So the basics of it are visual.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're such a visual society nowadays, and that art is one of those reinforcers of looking at those fine details, looking at what makes things look quote unquote pretty or aesthetic, like, and that's just the bare minimum of it. But there's also the fine motor aspect of it too.
Yes.
So when you think about it, right,
littles,
like the littles, and so when you get them in kindergarten, just the fine tuning of how to hold a pencil versus how to hold a crayon, how to hold a paintbrush, like all those little things, and you don't realize how many little muscles are in those fingers, and like how many. It's crazy. And
how to hold a pair of scissors,
correct,
and cut correctly.
Middle school is I still go through.
I'm sure.
Even in middle school, still have to go through the alligator chomp chomp chomp, all those things
with bigger scissors.
Yes, with bigger scissors, and they always tell me, they're like, Miss Upton, my scissors are broken. I'm like, no, I think it's a user error. Like, it's not it's okay.
All right.
But no, it's really funny. But as far as the other things go, fine motor, also social emotional too, because you're in a realm where you get to just sit and be, essentially, right? Like, there's little things that you have to accomplish throughout the task and throughout the project, but a lot of it is just you sit and you get to conversate with your peers, and you get to learn how to have like an appropriate conversation. You get to learn like the skill of, especially in elementary, just, hey, can I borrow this? Can I, and it's those little things that people don't think about because, I don't know, just.
And I always thought it was so interesting that, the fact that you guys learn about different art teachers, different musicians, things like that over time, that kids get a realistic viewpoint of where maybe the artist started or the musician started. Like, and how people, like how you can begin a skill, because I think for art, especially, I'll just speak for myself. When I was coming up in elementary school, it art seemed very difficult for me. It was not my strength. And it was because I think more so that, similar to, I'm sure, other children, right? You see the end product and it looks like it's so hard that you don't even know where to begin.
Oh, right.
So that's where your job comes in, right?
Yes.
To make sure that they understand all the little specific skills and the specific starting points for how do you create this masterpiece. Well, you got to start here.
Right. Like, and that's, so I'm glad you brought that up too, because when I do stuff with my kids, I always say, like, you know, you're going to put something on your paper and it's not going to look good. Sure. But if it's not looking good in the beginning, then you're on track to success. You're on point. Like you've already captured that milestone, right? So, like learning the step process and also that backwards design of planning, which is a very huge, like that's a skill. Yes. Even like as an adult, we have that backwards design thing, and we
do it in our lesson planning.
We do it in our lesson planning. We do it in our day-to-day life. Like even trying to figure out, you know, a schedule of how this kid has to go here, this kid has to go there. Okay, well, we need everyone at the dinner table by 5. So how are we going to do this? But the same thing can be applied to art and anything else we do. But it's interesting because when you have those kids that automatically set themselves up for failure, when they just look at something, and they instantly shut down. And so one of the biggest rewards in my career is that I get to walk them through the process of success. And I get to walk them through like that was easy button. Like, oh, I didn't think of it that way. Like I didn't realize I could do this instead of that. And so walking them through those steps is always really magical. And then by the end of it, the best thing to hear is like, when a kid looks at it and says, wow, I did that. Like, you did that. I did not touch it. That was all you. So magical.
And I think what that does too, because, you know, whether you're having difficulty with drawing or doing your math or writing a paragraph or whatever, what you're also building is their ability to see that mistakes are okay, that we do a better job. You're in the editing process. You're just in art, right?
Well, and it's okay if nothing looks the same. Well, like the way that you do something is going to be completely different than how your neighbor does it, but the result is going to result in success regardless.
For you,
for you and as an individual. And I think that's also
and that really teaches resilience, right? Which they need for anything.
Oh, and art definitely does that.
Yes, right? I know. Keep going.
Just keep on trying. It's okay.
So I'm gonna move forward. So at Lake Havasu Unified School District, as you know, you've been with us for a long time. Our teachers work to connect learning at all levels. So how do you feel like arts education connects to and supports for learning that may be happening in other departments? Like what types of skills do you daily reinforce in your classrooms?
So in the arts specifically, I just started with a brand new group of kids because I get them quarterly. So currently right now we're going to be going into our first grid drawing activity. So kids are going to have to use math. Like they're going to have to grid out the paper and they get a ruler and they have to like manage out how, okay, if I have an 18 by 20, how is this going to work? You know, so we instantly go into math, and then there's the idea of different types of materials and how they react with one another. We do an assignment for printmaking and later
science.
A little bit of science in there. Color theory is huge. Science in there as well. Math is a big one that I think not very many people realize is an art. Because when you think about even color theory, the ratios between, okay, I need this amount with this to work with this. And if I am not paying attention, like it can easily alter so many things. Reading and writing is something that a lot of people don't think that we do in the art room, which
I've seen it, but at elementary school, I see it.
So it's always really crazy because I think that people just assume, and this is always the very blanketed assumption that we just go in and it's just crayons. And, you know, we just do hearts and clovers and like that's all we do. But no, we read and we write. My kids are very reflective in my process of all the processes I have in my room. So we think about what we're doing, kind of going back to science, like here are your steps. Like, what do you think is going to happen? How are we going to fix it? And so,
do you keep a journal or?
So my students have they have their sketchbooks, and then throughout the whole entire process, they're given worksheets that tie along with their assignments, so that way we can reflect back and go through. Not only that, but they also have their peers as well. So we have those peer-to-peer conversations with it.
Did they do peer critiques as well?
They do.
Which is a whole nother skill set.
It is. So being vulnerable, like that, I think is a skill set in and of itself. So in my room specifically, we have what's called a gallery walk. So my students and we do it from day one of the project all the way to the end of the project, and my kids will stand up, gallery walk and we walk around the room. And like the goal of it is for them to see that you're not the only one struggling.
Right.
Like you're not the only one missing this step or whatever. So it gives it, and it also builds the community aspect of it.
And they
too.
give them feedback on their.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so at the very end, we say, okay, now what, who would you like to shout out? Oh, I want to shout out, I want to shout out this person for doing such a great job on their line work. And I want to shout out this person for shading because I can't do that. And so
it also helps them affirm. Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's super awesome. So you have these like relationships that are being built without them realizing that relationships are being built. And they have all these basic skill sets that they never realized that they could do.
Yeah.
And then that they're actually executing. So
That's
it's really
pretty
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Makes for a pretty amazing classroom environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as a district, we strive to educate the whole child, right?
Correct.
Okay. And we're trying to build a well-balanced approach to education, which is why we're trying to bring our arts education and build it up even further than we've had it in the past due to funding. Mm-hmm. So in trying to achieve our mission of scholarship, character, and humanity, right? Like, what do you feel like are the best ways that the arts education can help us support this? How do you feel like it connects to that whole child approach?
So I think in all aspects of it, like what we were just talking about, the scholarship, because you get to reinforce all the skills that you're learning in those math and science classes, and the character, just because you're working face to face with people and you have to learn how to socialize and you have to the way that you put yourself out there into the world is how they're going to be receiving you back. And, and I think that just as a whole person, experiencing different things is never a bad thing.
No.
So when you're talking about teaching to the whole child, like sharing with them all these different historical figures, these different paintings, these different movements throughout art, they get to see things that they probably haven't been seeing in their normal day to day.
Yeah.
Or if they are looking at art, it's probably not art from 1,000 years ago.
Sure.
It's probably like the new sneaker that's out, but it's all connected at one point or another.
And one of the things that, as you were talking, I kind of was reflecting on is that art is a perspective, right? Like everybody's appreciation of art is different based on their personality, based on their likes, based on their dislikes, all those things. And so I think one of the things that I love seeing with kids that maybe even are not necessarily artistically inclined, but you sometimes just by watching and seeing what they're drawing on their notebook.
Oh, yeah.
Or watching and seeing what stickers they place on their...
Oh, yeah.
But, you're figuring out who their personalities are, who the types of things they're drawn to. You're figuring out things about them as a person. And that's helpful to both us as educators, but I think it's also, helpful to parents because a lot of parents don't think that, it goes that far deeper, as deep as it goes, really, but it really does. You can really tell a lot about a child from the types of things that they pursue.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I think that middle school is kind of like that one area, because in elementary, they're given a specific project, you follow these steps, and you get the same result, or similar results depending on it, because you're basically building skills.
Yeah.
Then when you get to middle school level, you're given the choice.
And you're applying it.
And you're applying it.
Yeah.
And so your choices then reflect who you are.
Right.
So when students are choosing to draw a guitar, then that opens up that conversation of, oh, what music are you into?
Right.
And those sorts of things. And so, and it kind of goes to art being subjective to then art returning to being universal, because it opens up that conversation again to students and to staff, and you get to kind of know
building
that
connections.
child. And just building those connections and getting to know those kids even more. And it's interesting when you look at the variety of interests, but the similarities of interest through the times.
Sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, so that's always really fun.
Somehow 80s is back.
Yeah, 80s and 90s are coming back with full force.
So apparently I had a really good taste back then.
Right,
I don't know. I'm just kidding.
What, the headbands with the spikes in it now? And I'm like, oh God,
some of it didn't work back then either, but some of it carried over. So
it's okay. We got to learn someday, right?
So kind of moving on to a more parent-focused part of this conversation. What ways do you feel like parents can support their child's development in the skills of the arts? And then do you have any advice on for parents whose kids are maybe starting to pursue artistic education? And what kind of advice would you give them as somebody yourself who really cares about the arts and is an arts-based person?
Oh, a lot of stuff. But basically, just encourage it.
Okay.
I think that's the biggest thing. And also, when it comes to, you always hear that, stay inside the lines. Like, sometimes it's okay to go outside.
Sure.
I think just building the idea and reinforcing that resilience of, you may not get it the first time, but try again.
Sure.
And creativity does not look just like drawing.
Right.
It looks like imaginative play. It looks like, playing with dolls. It looks like Legos, a tea party. It's, hey, how'd you build that robot out of 4 pieces of Legos? Like, how did you do that?
Sure.
And having the conversation, I think, is what is super important too. Like, don't sit there and watch your kids build a Lego set and say, wow, that looks really cool.
Get in there and build it with them.
Yeah, get in there and build it with them. And also, how did you do that? Show me.
Yeah.
Because then that just encourages more of that creativity level. It also encourages more of that connection again. And connections result to good things. And so you want to those good feelings always come out. I think that when it comes to reinforcing with skills, just anything and everything. And art doesn't have to be expensive. You can easily draw things in sand. You can, you can put water in dirt and it becomes clay. Like, it's.
Are there any like online tools that would work for kids?
So there's a couple of websites that I really enjoy using. Art for Kids Hub on YouTube.
I love it.
Love them.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. From like.
Good modeling.
Yeah, kinder kiddos all the way up to my age, or not my age, my middle schooler's age. Oh my gosh.
No.
Definitely don't want to relive that again. So I would say Art for Kids Hub. Another great source is, I'm gonna mess it up.
That's okay.
Yeah. But I can probably send you some links and
That'd be great.
Put it in the base.
Sure.
But, yeah, so it's online is beautiful, and the ability to pause and reflect and those things, but doing it with your kids and making it fun and putting it up on the fridge and showing, like, hey, you
buying
did
a
this.
sketchbook and a pad of pencils and
like
things
just
like
putting forth the energy. If your kids are interested in something, I'm sure any parent would want to try to invest in that interest because it makes them happy, and who doesn't want their kids not happy? Like,
and we do have some local people in town that also do classes outside of the district too. So those are things that parents could pursue as well, right?
They can. Pam Ranke, she's amazing. Yeah. Love her. Yeah. And I know she has like her own little website to sign up for classes and those sorts of things. I don't know if anyone offhand who also does it. I know Pam's kind of the one that I always refer people to. But I do know there are other people on Facebook that probably do like little private things. And they also have the wine and canvas nights that you can do. Obviously the wine would not be included with
that's for the parents.
Yeah, that's for the parents.
So parents, if you want to if you want to practice before you get with your kids, that would be an option.
That'd be a great option for that. But again, I think it's just going through and finding the experiences, because your kids can only do so much. And I think you putting forth the effort makes it look that, oh wow, this is worth the time.
Well, and even if and we're talking about, art, but arts-based education includes music and things like that. There are also other other people in town that do music lessons and things like that. I think it's really just about being able to open up, and if you don't know what the community resources are, being able to ask your teachers, ask your principals, ask me, ask any of the people at the district or other parents what the community resources are that could support your kids. But just supporting them, right?
Yeah, I think that's just the biggest thing. And when it comes to, again, building that connection through conversation and asking the questions as to how you do it, I think that's just the biggest thing too.
So the last question I want to ask before we kind of go into our fun stuff is, I'd love for you to reflect on our arts programs. I know I asked a little bit earlier whether or not, most of your experience was through our district programs. Based on the arts education that you received, and as you've become a teacher in the district, now seeing our arts education programs grow, what are your reflections on how we can continue to grow within our district? Are there things you'd like to see happen in the future for our district? And how can parents support that?
Right. I think our high school has done a really, really great job with the CTE programs and that building into that career aspect of it. And
You're speaking of the graphics.
Yeah, like the graphic design, there's so many facets of that. And not just specifically with art, but also the music area that they have over there.
Yeah.
Their recording studio, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, their theater program is just amazing over there. So I think the high school has done a really great job. Come leaps and bounds from when I was in high school, that's for sure.
And then when I was in high school, it was even so it's definitely come a long way. I can tell you, yes.
All the bare minimum things that they had when I was there. But no, they've come so far. I think our elementary schools are starting to get with it. I really do. I think we've gone from that 12-week program, like I mentioned in the beginning, from not just art, but music and PE. And now we have our PE that's in there for all year long.
PE is full year, and then art and music are semesters now.
Correct. They're semesters. And I think once we can get the ability to go back to it being a full year, I think that would really the icing on the cake, so to speak. But as far as what parents can do, I think just stay involved. I think that's the biggest thing. Just stay involved. You have a voice, and make sure you express it. If you want something, then tell us what you want.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because we have to accomplish this together. They're all our kids, so yeah.
Right, and silence is a response.
That's true. So Hannah, your perspective has been amazing. I really love to listen to you. I love working with you, and so being able to share your perspective with parents is a big deal for me. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm not done with you yet.
Oh gosh, okay.
We're actually going to go through a few rapid fire questions because before I let you go completely, I want to be able to let them learn a little bit more about you. So we're going to go through rapid fire real quick.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So what was your favorite thing about when you grew up or went to high school?
Art.
I could have called that. Okay.
Right.
If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ooh, flight.
Ooh.
Yeah. Gosh, man. Flight. Yeah.
Okay. What is one thing you would tell your middle school self now to give them perspective?
You're going to get better.
That's such good advice.
You're going to get better.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Do you say that a lot during the day?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know.
You're going to get better. Just practice. It's okay.
So who has been the most influential person in your life, and how did they impact your leadership?
Ooh, my mom.
Oh.
Yeah. My mom. She's just been the best person in my life. Love her. She's a leader in her career, and she's just shown me how to not only manage myself, but also figure out a way to manage everyone else around me to make the positive and right choices and just all those things.
Moms are great.
My mom. Yeah.
I know. I already know the answer to this question, but what type of learner are you?
Ooh, I'm a visual learner, but I'm also, I'm a very tactile learner.
Really?
Too. Yeah.
See?
Arts
education, man.
Yeah.
You gotta play.
I have to have something in my hands at all times. I've been playing with this thing, all the time.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, so when I'm in a meeting, I'm constantly drawing and having to do all the things, so. Yeah.
Okay, well, so I know art's your favorite, but if you had to choose between ELA or math?
Ooh. I say ELA. Okay. Math, I appreciate math. I've gotten so much better, and I have more of a math mind when it comes to certain things, but I love the creativity of the ELA.
Yeah, I know. Glass half full or half empty?
Ooh, half full.
Always.
Yeah, always half full.
And what's your favorite book that you read when you were in school? Do you remember a favorite book that you've read?
I've read a few that are always really stand out. Swiss Family Robinson.
Oh.
Don't know why.
That's a great book.
That's been I don't know, it's one of my favorite books. And then also To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, those are two of my favorite books.
And you still love them today, I'm
Still love them to this day. I will still read them.
Well, so a little bit more about you, Hannah. And so I'm just really thankful. Thank you for letting us get to know you a little bit better. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And we're excited for parents to hear.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
We want to take the time today to thank you and Shawn Lawless from 32 Bravo Media for help making our Raising Scholars broadcast a reality. You can tune into this or any new episode at our LHUSD website, on the communications page, on our LHUSD Facebook page and YouTube channel, or linked into quarterly newsletters. Don't forget to tune in to our next episode. We can't wait to see you there, because at the end of the day, the most overwhelming key to a child's success is in the positive involvement of their parents.